Let's get into the anatomies. In the Song of Songs, it says, you read this, chapter 3, chapter 4, they're actually getting married, and they begin to make love in chapter 4. And you're watching a man and a woman make love. And at the end of that chapter, right, chapter 5, verse 1, God says, drink deeply and enjoy. I mean, he says, enjoy. Smack that thing, boy. Tear that thing up. Because he's saying, I made this for you. Enjoy it. Because God says, I approve of what you're doing. This is such a beautiful thing. How many of us could stand back and say with my sexuality that God says, I approve of what you're doing? Oh, man, Lord, help us. You want God to approve of this. And so when we get into anatomies, dude, I promise you, some of the stuff, you're going to be like, damn, I didn't know that. Here we go. First of all, we started out with this foundation, Genesis 1 and 28, and I told you about sex and dominion. And dominion and sex is mutual. Be fruitful and multiply and have dominion. Have babies and rule well. Well, it starts with gen. Let's start with gen. That word gen, it means that which produces. That's what it literally means. And look at these words. Genesis, genitals, gender, gene, generator, generation, genocide, oxygen, hydrogen, antigen. Gen. And so when people, multiple genders, no. There's only two anatomies that produce male and female. There's only two genders based on the anatomies, male and female. Right? So I'm this, I'm that, no, that's not Bible. There's more to this. That's very important. Don't forget that. We have the male sexual organ is known as a penis. A lot of guys don't understand. If I told you the very first thing I want you to understand, men, is that your penis is directly related to your identity. What does that mean? Go ahead, you had your hand up. I just picked you out. What does that mean? Because it goes right to your identity. Because think about it. The moment you're born, what's generally the first thing that's pronounced over you? Congratulations, it's based on what? That which produces, your genitals. And so it says, congratulations, it's a boy, congratulations, it's a girl. And I promise you right now, hear me very closely on this. I don't apologize for this. If you ever, and we're getting to the point now where you might hear this, congratulations, it's a homosexual. This is how twisted we are today. This is not hate speech. I see some of your faces. I got friends, I got family members homosexual. So do I. At least I'm confronting them and loving them enough it's a sin. God, don't call that love, it's a sin. God didn't call that love. Are you confronting your people? So be careful how you judge me. I see some of your faces looking like, I already know. I've been doing this for years, and we got people in here, they'll say, well, and they'll leave, and they'll get angry, and they'll say, he hates homosexuals. And they'll say, that's all he said. He bashed homosexuals the whole time. That's not true. You're a liar. And the reality is, homosexuality is a sin. That's another class I'm going to do before you guys leave. You'll get an hour of why is it wrong, and I'll show you scripturally why it's wrong. And I promise you this, it is not love. I didn't say it, God didn't say it. Just real simple. Does God approve of a homosexual marriage? And people will tell you, so-called Christians will tell you, well, the Bible, made them that way. That's not true. Anyway, get back to the topic. Generally the first proclamation, declaration, is a confirmation of your identity based on your genitalia. Congratulations, it's a boy. Congratulations, it's a girl. Identity being pronounced right there on the spot. Got it? Next thing up here in Genesis 24, verse 2, swearing. I want you to know something. When you study this verse out, this is when Abraham was going to send his servant back to go get a wife for his son. Because Isaac had come of age and Isaac was going to get married. Isaac went to his dad and said, I'm ready to get married. And so Abraham brought his servant to him and he told him, go to my tribe and get a woman from our people and make sure she's from our people. He made him swear to some things. And he said, put your hand on my thigh and swear to me. put your hand on my thigh. You studied that out, that word thigh? Anybody know what it means in the Hebrew? What's a euphemism? It's sort of a metaphor. It's a nice way of saying something crass. Instead of saying grandma dead, you say grandma passed away. Instead of saying, first sergeant farted, you say first sergeant passed gas. So it's a nice way of saying something that's kind of, right? When he says, put your hand on my thigh, it literally means sexual organ. He says, put your hand on my penis and swear to me. We should bring that back today. No, I'm just kidding. No, you can't. I'm telling you right now, that was a joke. You can't do that today. But why could they do it back then? Because they understood, I can swear by nothing greater. My sexual organ is my identity, it's my lineage, it's my future. And this is why sex and dominion are related to your sexual organ, your sexuality, your ability to multiply. And so, and here's another thing. He says, put your hand on my thigh, put your hand on my sexual organ and swear to me. Because a man at that time could swear by nothing greater. That's the greatest thing I have, my sexuality. Oh man, have we lost this today? Have we cheapened our sexuality today? Yes. I already know we have. So there's that. Well, in Genesis chapter 17, when Abram was God says we're going to do a new thing, and Abram's like, what are we doing? He says, it's a new covenant. I want that. And what do you say? What? It's dedicate your sexual organ to me. What? This is what's called circumcision. You know what circumcision is, right? Cutting away of the foreskin of the flesh, yeah? That's what he's talking about. And why would God say, I want that? This still applies today. God says, I want your sexual organ. Dedicate that to me. Why?
Is this your identity?
Identity, future, lineage. It really is. It has to be disciplined. It has to be intact. One of the things, listen, I'm going to give you a picture real quick. Let's say when a baby boy is circumcised, or a male, just say a male. When a male is circumcised, what happens quickly and immediately? There's a couple of things that happen immediately.
Bleeds.
That's the second thing. What's the first thing? He says bleeds. Huh? Not crying. There's a splitting of the flesh. The knife cuts the flesh, and there's a splitting of the flesh, and then there's blood. This is what circumcision is about. Why blood? What does blood represent in the Bible? Life. It represents life. And so basically he says, you're dedicating your life. You're dedicating your sexual organ to me right now. And so hear me on this very closely, because today God cut covenant with man in the act of circumcision. This is Old Testament. And that meant that there was a splitting of the flesh, and then there was bloodshed. When a man sleeps with a woman, this is symbolic. When a man sleeps with a woman, what's the first thing he does? He penetrates her flesh, he splits her flesh, and there's blood always present. Whether she's a virgin or not, there's blood always present. Sexual arousal, I'll get to this in a minute. If you don't have an erection, how can you have an erection? What causes an erection? Blood has to be present. Blood is about exchanging life, and so sex is about exchanging life. It's about marriage. Making sense? You guys tracking? So that's what it is. Anytime you have sex with a woman, you penetrate her, you split her flesh, and blood is present, and there's a covenant. There's a marriage being created physically, anatomically. You guys okay with this? There's that. Here's the blood. Why blood? Blood represents life. Jesus shed his blood that we might have life. Right? The life of the flesh is in the blood. Leviticus 17:11. Life of the flesh is in the blood. This thing called erection. Erection, it's really, I've been doing this for many, many years, so I try very, very hard not to use these words that can get you off topic, and they're misconstrued as sexual innuendos, and you get stuck out there somewhere. And when you mention erection today, Or even the word moist. My daughters cringe at the word moist. They're like, moist, moist. And people they cringe about this. I've had chaplains. I was teaching this stuff, I don't know, about 10 years ago, to all the chaplains on island here. And 2 chaplains didn't make the class. And the 06 they're having to say, Pastor Nick, can you do another class? And I'll set them 2 down in the conference room with you. This is about a week later. Put them in the conference room with you, and you just go over the same material with them. It'll be quick. I said, no problem. I got to the word vagina, and we had an 05 get up and say, vagina. He said vagina, and he walked out of there. Because you can't say vagina. You can't say that. Yes, everyone else is saying it, and much more. So where erection is concerned, erection was a thing that was supposed to be respected. You ever notice how they put up a monument or a grand building and they put the cornerstone erected on this date? And you stand back in appreciation and awe and you look at that structure like, wow. Or the Brooklyn Bridge, erected on this date. Right? Erection. Even standing for the national anthem. You stand erect. Do you guys still stand when a field grade officer walks in? Somebody calls attention on deck. You stand erect. That's supposed to be respect. The bride comes down the aisle. Judge enters a room. What do? You stand erect. That's a sign of respect. And we've so forgotten this that an erection now to us is perverted. We just look at our Woody in the mirror and just look at the angles. Yeah, look at that there. Woo, yeah. We're fascinated with our sexual organ and totally clueless about the respect of an erection. I know guys, I have to say this. Is it up there? Yeah, I mentioned covenant and blood. This is how serious this is. Every single time you have had an erection, men, every single time you've had an erection, you were this far away from a marriage. This far away from covenant. What I'm saying is that you're in a state, you're prepared to cut covenant. You're just looking for something to cut covenant with. You know what I'm talking about. Am I right? I mean, you've been out there in formation, change of command or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. Walking down the hallway at work. You're in this state. You're one step away from getting married. That's how awesome this thing is. So, we went over this last week. Testicles. If you read, somebody get Deuteronomy 23. Get a couple translations. Verse 1 and verse 10. Everybody turn there real quick. Everybody turn there. I got to show you. I'm going to speed up a little bit. Okay, what translation do you have? Good. Hang on. Okay, 23 verse 1, nice and loud, and then read 10 nice and loud.
He that is wounded in soul or hath his hurt member cut off shall not enter the congregation of the Lord. Verse 1 and verse 10. If there be any among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness that chanceth him by night, then he shall not go abroad out of the camp, he shall not come in within you.
Okay, read 10 again. Read it loud. You need to be loud. I want everybody to hear this. Verse 10, nice and loud.
If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness that chanceth him by night, then he shall go abroad out of the camp, he shall not come within the camp.
He said, if there be any man among you that are unclean by reason that chanceth him by night. What are they talking about? All you King James lovers. What's it talking about? I'm a fan of King James, but I didn't understand that. I had to research that. What he's saying is if there be any man among you, particularly in the army, if there be any man among you that's unclean because you had a wet dream or nocturnal emission, you have to leave the group and you got to go purify yourself and cleanse yourself. You can't fight with us. We don't want you fighting with us. Anybody want to know why? I'll illustrate this later, but dude, this thing blew me away. You guys know this. You were here already, right? Tell them. You had your hand up.
This is just probably, it sounds like
That's good, but that's not it. That's not it. You know why? It's because the person who has sin on his conscience doesn't fight very well. He's the one, I'm not putting it all out there. I'm not ready to die. Years ago, I went to the Gulf, and dude, I went to the Gulf, and we're about to go through the breach, and there's all kind of overhead ordnance, all kind of stuff going on, man. We had the mine plow in front of us, and we had our sticks all lined up, and it's happening. Dude, we have supporting fire, all kind of stuff was going on. And you guys have these hard shell Humvees. We didn't have them back in my day. We had plastic doors. And so these mines and bombs and munitions are going off, and my doors are snapping and popping in and out because displacement of air. I'm like, oh, Lord, I'm going to die. And so we're there on pause waiting, and I'm driving the Humvee. I'm a sergeant. My lieutenant had to go to the COC, and so we're all just waiting. They're getting their last-minute orders or whatever. And I'm sitting there, and I said, I need to pray because this is serious. I got down in front of the Humvee, and I probably prayed for 30 minutes. I prayed hard, man. I was going through my entire life asking for forgiveness for everything. That gum I stole, that change I stole from my mom's wallet, her desserts I would eat without her permission. All kind of stuff. Whatever I did, if I can think of it, I said, and that one too, Lord. I was cleansing my soul. I was doing an inventory, and I promise you, as God is my witness, by the time I was done, I felt good, and I was ready to die. So much so that I laid on the hood of my Humvee for like another 30 minutes and literally napped. I didn't care what happened to me. Waiting for the LT to come back and to get the green light to go. And I was ready to die. But the person who has sin in their life, unconfessed sin, the Christian who has unconfessed sin in their life, they don't fight very well. They're the ones, you three stand up here. Okay, get shoulder to shoulder, facing that way. Shoulder to shoulder. And let me get shoulder to shoulder. And we're in here, and we're ready to fight. And that's the enemy. Their souls are cleansed, but mine isn't. I'm compromised. And I'm stepping back a little bit. Why? They're ready to fight. Why? Why am I stepping back? Because I'm not ready to die. And am I a liability to them?
Yes.
This is why it's important. Thanks, guys. This is why I'll illustrate that a little bit more when we get to the spiritual stuff. But this is why it's important that you're conscious. You know, the thing is, St. Augustine was credited with this. Man's soul is restless until it rests with God. That's all of us. When you have sin in your life, you're not ready to die. Matter of fact, you're more interested in protecting yourself than you are of laying your life down and protecting your brothers. That's pride. That's pride, absolute pride. Making sense? Well, I said all that to talk about these testicles. I can't go all over this completely. This was one of the questions on the test last week, why they call testicles. And Gabe, I got to ask you, how old are you? 26? How old are you? 25. For 25 years, you had your boys hanging around. They're called testicles. Why are they called testicles? I was the same way. What's a handsome guy right there? Yeah. How old are you? 23. So 23 years old. Your testicles, 23 years old. Why are they called testicles? Go ahead, drop some knowledge. Good-looking guy right there. See, and if we don't know, I promise you, anytime you don't know the purpose of something, you always abuse it. If you don't know the purpose of your penis, you don't know the purpose of your testicles, you don't know the purpose of sex, you'll abuse it. Dude, go ahead. Tell us what testicles mean. And so, trust me, you guys are not alone. Everyone has gone through this. I went through this years ago, so I'm like blown away. The root word is testes, T-E-S-T-E-S. Companion words to testes, that's the root word, are testosterone, testator, testament, testify. They literally means to witness. Your testicles are called witnesses, which is why there's two of them. And see, this is what I brought up on last week. If it's true what I'm saying, that your testicles are witnesses, and it is true your testicles are called witnesses, what are they supposed to witness? Why are they called witnesses? What are they supposed to witness? They're supposed to witness that covenant, that act of sex. Every time you have sex, you get married, and your witnesses bear the truth of what happened. Your testicles witness that act. You've seen the marriage ceremonies. When you get married, you know you have to have witnesses present. They get that symbolic imagery from the act of sex. That's where that comes from. And so, here's the even more penetrating question. What have your testicles witnessed? How proud are you of that as you stand before God? Dude, I'm like, Lord, forgive me. I didn't know. And there are, a lot of times there's still follow-on consequences. All right, making sense? I'm you guys got my wife, my cats are like responding to Okay, semen. What is semen? Sperm, what is it? Somebody said seed. It's seed. Now watch this. This is gonna mess you up, and this is where people get pissed off. Deal with it. Just whatever. I'm gonna give you the information. It's gonna shock the hell out of you, and you're gonna be like, "Well, damn, I didn't need to know that. Now I feel bad." And you're supposed to feel bad. Thank God you still feel bad. But what I'm getting at, your semen is seed. What happens? What do you do with a seed? You plant it, and what happens if it fertilizes? It grows. Your semen is seed, and you're supposed to plant it, right, in a woman, and it fertilizes and it grows. Yes, we're talking about babies now. Now, the reason why I'm even bringing semen up, because a lot of guys don't even know this. Side note: you guys heard of the Garden of Gethsemane? You know what Gethsemane is? It's a compound word. Geth and semen. It's a place of squeeze. I'm not going to teach you all this right now, but it's a place of squeezing. And it talks about the seed, squeezing the seed. This thing, there's, some other time. That'll come up later. But as far as one climactic ejaculation, how many spermatozoa are released in one puddle of semen? How many? I'll start right there. Yeah. Huh? Billions? How many you think? Billions. How many you think? Billions? How many you think?
More than 3.
Huh? Billions? How many you think? Everybody's throwing billions out there. Most people, when I first ask this question, they'll say one puddle of semen on average, 50,000, 100,000. Some people say billions. I just read some things today that said there are some men who their sperm count is in the billions. On average, though, it's anywhere between 180 million and 210 million. One climactic ejaculation. Now, there are some who are very, very low, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. And then there are some who are, geez, man, millions and billions, right? Whatever. The average is 180 to 210. That's half the population of the United States in one climactic ejaculation. Now, when they do, understand this, when they do a sperm count, they say God is, check this out, God is omnipotent, all-powerful. When we examine a man's sperm count, we talk about his potency. Why do we call that potency?
Potential for power.
Say it. No. It has nothing to do with power. Why?
Potential for life.
It's talking about potential. How much potential is in 200 million spermatozoa? How much potential is in there?
200 million lives.
It could be 200 million lives. This is an amazing thing what God did. But how many of us, we don't know that's pretty valuable, but how many of us just waste our semen with booty calls, masturbation, shower, going to the head. I had a Marine years ago. Gunny, I'll be right back. I need 5 minutes. I got to go rub one out. No shame at all. No shame at all. Not knowing what they're doing. Still destroying things. This guy right here, Onan, he was supposed to bring, it's an amazing story. He was supposed to bring forth seed in his brother's name because his brother had passed away. Actually, two of his brothers had slept with this woman, and they both died. They were wicked men, and God killed them. And then he was the youngest one. He was not of age. And the daddy said, when he becomes older, I'll send him to you. And when he was old enough, he actually withdrew himself from her. And no, he was the second son. He was the second son. The third one, it was a different story. I'm sorry. This guy, Onan, he went into his brother's wife to have seed, bring forth seed in his brother's name, and he withdrew himself, and he spilled his semen on the ground. Very next verse, God killed him. Spilled his semen on the ground. I want you to know something. What is anti-gen? Gen is that which produces. What is an anti-gen? That which destroys. Science and medicine today are arguing now that male sperm is an anti-gen. Anybody know why? They're saying they're positing that male sperm is destroying things. Go ahead. Say it nice and loud. Can you guys hear him back there?
No. It's not going in the right place. Thank you, sir.
He says, sperm destroys in a human body when it goes where it's not supposed to go. What am I talking about? No. We're talking about anal sex and ingesting semen. See, where the homosexual community is concerned, this is something they don't want to tell you guys about. But they're rampant with sexual partners. They're rampant with STDs. And rampant with physical deterioration of their anal cavity. They're having, there's another class, I can give you numbers and studies and stats. Dude, and I have personal friends who struggle with this. And you think, many of you might be a player, you're heterosexual, straight, and you got your numbers up, body count is up. It's nothing compared to the homosexuals. And I can explain very in detail why their numbers are up. It's off the charts. They're partners. It's off the charts, which is why the STDs are rampant in their community, which is why by the time they're 30, 35, 40 years old, their entire anal cavity is eaten away and gone. Which is why we're having reports now coming out saying sperm is an anti-gen. It's only an anti-gen when you put it in the wrong place. When you deposit it anally, it destroys. There's only one place where male sperm is supposed to go. I'm not talking about oral sex. I'm not talking, because some of you are like, yeah, we'll get to that. I'm talking about ingesting semen. When male semen is anally released in a male body or a female body, it begins to destroy. And there's only one place that it was designed to go, in a woman's vagina. And there's a reason for this, because, and this is the part that's going to scare a lot of you, there's this thing called microchimerism. Look it up. Microchimerism. And let me know if you find anything, because I've been studying this thing for the last 20 years. And this, anybody know what it is? It's the presence of male DNA in a female, distinct of her own DNA. Like man and woman get together, they have a girl. The man and woman, her father and mother, their DNA splits off and they create a distinct person, a female. And so she has her own DNA now. But studies are finding that women can carry a man's DNA for up to 50, 60, 70 years of their life. And they're like, well, where did that come from? Where did it come from? They came up with four options where it came from. They said, maybe she was pregnant and had a male. But that didn't compute. That didn't really come out. They said, well, maybe the mom had a son first, and then they had the daughter, and then the daughter, because there was son's DNA in her, he inherited some of her brother's DNA. That wasn't it either. And it wasn't until they got honest. This is not what they were looking for either. Then somebody said, well, wait a minute. How many sexual partners have you had? And they began to, and they was like, well, there's your male DNA right there. When a man releases himself inside a woman, in her vagina, anus even, that sperm penetrates her bloodstream. And it goes up her spinal cord and gets into her brain, as various regions of the brain, and it stays there. But primarily, it goes into her vagina, and it stains and marks and tattoos her vagina. Everyone you've ever slept with, you've stained and tattooed her vagina. That's why the two become one. Where's that? Two become one. Genesis chapter 2. The two become one. There's a marriage that occurs that we're not even aware of. Study it out. I'm telling you, what they did, they were looking for something else, but then they began to find out that, wait a minute, the number of sexual partners that this woman had, and she was never pregnant from them. She never had a baby. So it could only come from sex, with guys. And so, but they're trying to hide this information. I was looking for some more today, and I saw one or two things, but dude, I saved some articles from 10 years ago. And they're trying to hide this from us. Why? Because what they want you to do is go out, eat, drink, be merry. Go sow your wild oats. Go have fun. That's not the way of God. Okay, masturbation. What time is it? My watch is going out.
8:10.
Oh, we're tracking. We're on time. Masturbation. People argue and say masturbation is okay. I have clergy, pastor friends, chaplain friends. I have doctor friends down south. They say masturbation is okay, and they're Christians. Masturbation is okay. Not a big deal. What? I had a pastor friend at a meeting a couple months ago, and he said, we just had our annual marriage conference, and we had them anonymous questions, and one of the questions was, is it okay to masturbate? And this guy, he's like 67 years old. He says, I told him that that's between you and God or something. It's not a big deal. It's not in the Bible, so I guess it's okay. And I rebuked him. It's in the Bible. Anybody know where it's at? Galatians 5:19 through 21. It's flesh. It's flesh. That's what it is. It's flesh. That's exactly. It's flesh. It's not. Well, masturbation is not in the Bible. It's flesh. You know the word masturbation. The word manus and stupare. Manus and stupare means hand. Stupare means to defile yourself. The original definition of the word itself means to defile yourself, to abuse yourself with your hand. That's what it means. I looked at an original or current dictionary now, and it says it's therapeutic, it's recreational. It's not. No, the original definition, you get you an original definition dictionary, it'll tell you manus, stupare, hand, and to defile. And so it's basically telling you to abuse yourself. It was self-abuse is what it was. And just so you know, I got to say this because there's a lot of confusion about this, about because I got guys coming over to UDP, and they ask, can I masturbate to pictures of my wife? Or when I get home, can I masturbate my wife? First of all, you're saying that wrong. You cannot masturbate your wife. You can fondle your wife. You can only masturbate yourself. Right? So get that right. I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying get it right. But I told you, all sex marries you. This is because guys come over here and they'll ask me, well, because I'm away from my wife, one of the things I have to do, I have to masturbate, because if I don't, then I'm more tempted to go out. You have bigger problems than you realize. Because if you're afraid that if I don't masturbate in my room on base, when I go off base, I'll probably hit something out there. You have some major issues. This is what this is all about. I'm trying to get to this. And so the problem is, and hear me on this, I'm going to walk you through some steps here. What happens is, all sex is programming. All sex is programming. It conditions you, it trains you, it programs you. And so if you've already had a masturbation habit, or you build a habit while you're over here, whatever, you go back home with that habit, and then you have sex a few times with your wife, post-deployment sex, and everything's good. What ends up happening, there's going to come a time when she says, not tonight, I'm tired. You're like, no problem. This is what happens all the time. You ask again the next day, honey, I'm feeling kind of frisky. Some other night. And 2 or 3 rejections in a row. 2 or 3 in a row. Guys don't like rejections. What do? They'll go masturbate. And eventually, what they say is, without saying it, I'm not going to ask you anymore, because I don't need you for this. I know how to handle this myself. And I get people calling me all the time, we're in trouble. just fast forward a little bit. You can get over this masturbation habit. You can get your sexuality intact real quick. All you have to do is take like a 30-day challenge. You want information about that? Contact me. Just let me know. I said this last week. What happened is, this bears repeating. What happens, because God created sex in a way that it's supposed to marry you and join you and fuse you. And so, guys in particular, your first acts of sex, your sexual acts, you were supposed to be taught to imprint on the girl. Instead, you imprinted only on the act of sex. And you were never taught how to imprint on the girl. So for you, sex is all about an act. Got moto. Whereas Melman, he understands her heart and stuff like this. And so there's a reconditioning that has to happen, and you have to train yourself, and it's possible to train yourself to connect to the girl. Because if you connect to the girl, I promise you the sex is better. The sex is so much better. There's this thing, anybody know what TMS is? I got to speed this up. TMS, traumatic masturbatory syndrome. What is that? This is where guys have conditioned their penis to only be able to ejaculate, not climax, ejaculate with their own hand. They can have sex with their wife, but they cannot ejaculate. They cannot climax with their wife. It doesn't do it for them. They go masturbate in 5 minutes. They've trained their penis to respond only to their hand. We've had, whatever. We have so much bad advice out there. Size, without getting too deep into this, there's a what do they call it? Not a phenomenon in medical terms. It's called penis envy. Penis envy. There are guys who struggle with penis envy. What's the origin of penis envy? So he said pornography. He's exactly right. What's the connection? Because you're checking out other guys' junk and you're saying, and you buy into a lie and you think, I'm not like that, so I can't, I can't never please a woman like that. Who told you that? Without saying it, you're saying, God, you made a mistake. You made my junk insufficient. You need to repent. Because I promise you, nothing's going to change about it. Because God did not make a mistake. And honest women will tell you, when surveyed, even porn actresses, they'll tell you, because I've read some of their studies and some of their books and whatnot. They've come out of that lifestyle. And they said that it doesn't have to be a big penis. Matter of fact, big penises are painful. They didn't enjoy that. That's not what it's about at all. I'll try to get this when I get to the woman anatomy. You've heard of the G-spot. That's like only a half an inch just inside of her vagina, the G-spot. So even if your penis size is half an inch or an inch, you're going to satisfy that woman. The problem is if you have a woman and she's interested in penis size, what do you know about that woman? She's damaged goods, I promise you. She's damaged goods. And I can't give her all the fault, because who damaged her? A bunch of guys. And so there's these women, they're talking about size matters and all this crap. I'm telling you right now, it's bullshit. You look it up in Scripture, you tell me anywhere in the Scripture that God says, I'm going to give you a big penis, you're better than him. That's not in the Bible. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. When God made you, He did not make a mistake. People complain about their height, their skin color. I'm too light, I'm too dark, I'm too short, I'm too tall. You're criticizing God's handiwork. So that's where that's concerned. And then, without getting too deep in this, I don't even know. You guys don't call them STDs anymore. What do you guys call them? Huh? infections, sexually transmitted infections. I don't know. Is there a difference between diseases and infections? I think diseases is worse. So listen, it doesn't matter what happens. There's a word that they use, and it's called he contracted AIDS, he contracted herpes, she contracted what's it called? I can't think of it. The girl stuff, cervix. No, not cervical cancer. Whatever, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and what I'm getting at, the thing is, they use the term is they contracted. What does that mean? You contracted AIDS. You contracted herpes, syphilis, gonorrhea. You contracted it.
It's not your fault.
Huh?
They're basically like trying to say it's not your fault.
No, that's totally not what they're saying. Say it. You contract. You signed a contract when you did that thing. You asked for it. You got it. It's agreement. It's this simple. Look, did I do anything? You see I got his paw, right? You see I have his front paw, right? Did I do anything to violate his free will? All I did was stick my hand out there, and he agreed to take my hand. Say it. He contracted this. This is a contract. And I promise you, on a side note, this is one definition of sin. I could come up with 3 other definitions, but one of the definitions of sin is giving demons permission to operate in your life. And you contracted with that demon, you agreed with that demon, and now he has permission to operate in your life. I'll get to that when we get to the spiritual stuff. You were asking about that last week, weren't you? And I got him now. This is called possession. This is called possession. It's a form of possession, is it not? So that's why they call that contracting STDs. Okay, I got to speed this up a little bit. Female sexual organ. Again, the first pronouncement, congratulations, it's a girl. Identity is pronounced, yes? Her hymen. I meet more women today who don't know what a hymen is. Matt, you young guys in here, if you've not heard this before, I want you to answer up. Do you know what a hymen is? Yeah. What's a hymen? What is it though? Yeah, it's like membranous flesh, and it covers a woman's vaginal opening. It has no biological function, which means, well, what's it there for? God put it there for. It has a reason. There's a purpose for it. It's her seal of authenticity, is what it is, and she's a virgin. And so you study this thing out. What happens again if she's a virgin? The first time you penetrate her, it tears her flesh, and there's a covenant. Remember circumcision and covenant, and all that. It's the same thing when you're having sex with her. You're cutting covenant with her. You're marrying her. Even if it's just a random booty call, you're marrying her. Sex is what marries you. It's not the ceremony. It's not the judge. It's not your pastor. It's the act of sex. So, if you read in Deuteronomy 22:15, it talks about the tokens of her virginity. And basically what that means is that if parents wed their daughter off to this guy over here, on her wedding night, the parents were obligated, after her wedding night, they were obligated to go get the sheets and put the sheets away because the sheets had blood on them. And you would put them away. So in the future, if anyone ever accused these parents of giving an impure daughter, they could say, boom, evidence. These are the tokens of her virginity right here. She was a virgin. This is how serious this stuff was. Again, there's that stain, that marking, that one flesh. The two become one. Dude, I got to speed this up a little bit. There's this thing called breasts. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You need to know, when it says in Proverbs 5:19, it says that her breast shall satisfy you. Your wife's breast will satisfy you all the days of her life and all this other stuff. That word, satisfy, dude, it means quench. It means overwhelm you. You're supposed to be overwhelmed with her breast. Hallelujah. They're erotic. That's what's supposed to happen. You're fascinated. You got to be, anyway. Whew. There's this thing, I got to share with this thing about oxytocin. Anybody know what oxytocin is? Oxytocin. It's a chemical that's produced in our bodies. It's like a dopamine, but it's different. It's called oxytocin is referred to as the bonding chemical, because what happens is when you're young and you're holding hands with your girl and your hands are sweating and stuff like that, men produce oxytocin, women produce oxytocin, just a lot more than men. And what happens? Just touching hands bonds you, and you're like, oh, I'm holding your hand, dude. And then the more intimate you become, you kiss, you're having sex, great amounts of oxytocin are being produced, and she bonds deeply with you. Studies have shown, and this is a problem, studies have shown the more partners she has, the less oxytocin she produces, which means she's incapable of bonding with these guys in the future. So basically, let me put it like this. This is bad. Guy A, she bonds with him deeply, but then that relationship went sour. And then she had to move on to guy B. What's this called? Keep it clean. What's this called? Huh? This is a divorce. Side note, time out. I'm going to stay right here for a second, but I was on a plane leaving Naha, and there was this lieutenant Marine leaving, and I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah. She was leaving, and she said she was over here visiting her fiance, and it was great, and I said, this is awesome, and whatever, we got to talking, and then but she, somehow, because I have these conversations with people, and we talk about some really raw stuff very, very quick. You hang around me, we don't sugarcoat things. We talk about deep stuff very quickly. And so she was telling me about her past partners and whatnot, but this was the one. And she said, no. The previous 3 or 4 relationships that I was in, they're all good for me. Is that true?
No.
Why not? Okay, since you guys answered. What's wrong with, okay, I'll just set you up here. Got girl A, B, C, D, and E. But I finally meet Mrs. Right. This is girl F. Is this good or bad? Why? Huh? That's part of it. But wait. Isn't there some positive in all of this?
No.
Some of you don't know. And this is what she was saying. She said, no. You weren't there. The first relationship was good. Go ahead, quickly. That's definitely true. You're giving parts of yourselves away. But this is her contention. She was saying that guy, I learned a lot from him. That guy, I learned a lot from him. That guy, and I learned from all these people, so it was all good. It made me a better person for the guy I'm with right now, going to marry. And that kind of messed me up. This was years ago, and I was like, not as knowledgeable as I am now. But it did. She went to sleep, and I'm sitting there saying, what's wrong with what she said? It doesn't sound right. And then it hit me. And I promise you, I'm bumping her and trying to wake her up and say, oh, you're awake. Oh, yeah. You said that all that made you a better person and prepared you to be a better person for the guy you're with now. I said, what happened between every one of those relationships? She said, what do you mean? I said, to get from guy A to B, what was in between? What happened? She said, that was a breakup. What's it called? It's a divorce. And I said, see, one of the things you're dismissing and you're overlooking is that you're not practicing for success, you're practicing for divorce. And you divorced here, and you divorced here. And so what I'm getting back to this oxytocin thing, girl slept with him, breakup, divorce. Slept with him, breakup, divorce. And each time she's producing less oxytocin, and she's not bonding in a healthy manner to this guy. Now, Mr. Right comes along. He's a good guy. Does he have his work cut out for him? Yes. He can recover her. He can help her, but he's got to be very, very understanding, because just physically she can no longer bond with him in a deep way that she was meant to be. Now, why is she holding back every time? She holds back more and more. Why? Because she's been hurt. This guy hurt me, so she holds back more. This guy hurt me too. All men are dogs. And then she holds back more, and she holds back more. All men can't be trusted. And the women hold back. Now, the other thing about oxytocin and breast is one of the things that happen. Again, it's like a a chemical that your body produces, and it gets you high. When a woman is breastfeeding, her body, and she's lactating, all this other stuff, and when she's breastfeeding, oxytocin is produced in her body, and she enjoys the moment, which is why women enjoy breastfeeding their babies. Often, they do. And they just, it's a beautiful moment because they're kind of high. And so they're bonding and they love it. Well, the reason why I'm putting this up here is called the bonding chemical. God, he has a name, Genesis 17:1. It's called, his name, one of the names is El Shaddai. Anybody know what El Shaddai means? Huh? Half, you got half of it. It means all-sufficient one or many-breasted one. It means many-breasted one. And so in my mind, because I joke around a lot, I'm like, well, that means that many-breasted one, and I'm supposed to envision God with a lot of titties. And it seems kind of weird until you understand what breasts are about. Man, this thing broke me down. When you understand what breasts are about, they're supposed to be satisfying, right? But not only that, when you have a baby, they provide something that child needs. And this is so cool. A lot of times when a woman is lactating, she could be walking through the mall, she could be anywhere, and she can hear a baby that's not even hers crying. Her body's stimulated and begins to produce milk. It's not even her baby. Her body automatically knows to produce to meet a need, right? And here's another thing. When a woman is producing milk, but she's not getting it out, the baby's not latching on very well, that's called becoming engorged, and her breasts are just full of milk, and they become very painful. And they have to use things to withdraw the milk. I forget what those things called. What's it called? Pumps? Breast pumps? Yeah, breast pumps to kind of extract the milk and whatnot. And so, what does it have to do with the many-breasted one? Likewise, I believe this. Likewise, God hears us, his children down here crying, and his body God just begins to produce what we need. He produces what we need. The problem is a lot of us don't know how to latch on to God properly. And I believe God is in pain, and he becomes engorged with blessings or answers or solutions, and we don't know how to receive them. Does that make sense? Now, one of the things, just a side note, I'll kid with you guys in here about this. Sometimes you may have heard me say this, but if you're leaving, I'll see you. Hey, come here, give me some nipple before you leave. Nipple, bam! I put chest-to-chest hug on you. It's a joke. You gotta be careful today because you don't know what's going on today. Don't do that to a girl. Don't do that to another man's wife. But like Sam, I'd like, give us a nipple, boy, and then you're like, where's that from? That's what that's from right there. El Shaddai, many-breasted one. Okay, one more thing. Kissing. Is kissing okay?
Yes.
Is kissing okay while you're dating?
No.
While you're dating, is it okay? No. Is it a sin?
No.
Well, which one is it? Let me give you some clarification here. Because I promise you something. My wife and I, we have 3 daughters. And this is what I learned. You do not have permission to kiss my daughters. Why? Because she doesn't belong to you. Make her yours. Marry her. She doesn't belong to you. Don't be sticking your tongue down her throat. You don't know. Marry her. And as a matter of fact, if you're tonguing her and you don't marry her and you move on, that relationship's over, somebody else is going to, you've already tongued her. Oh, you guys think, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Let me, watch this. Watch how much hypocrite some of you are. Let's just say the 5 of us right here. Are you Hispanic?
Yes.
Dude, what are all the beaners doing right here? Is this the beaner corner? What's going on over here? You guys are like... So let's just say, now check this out. Let's just say the 5 of us go to the commissary. We go to the commissary and we all need loaves of bread. And so we're in line. I'm first. And there's 5 loaves of bread. Yes, 1 for each one of us. But me, there's loaf A, B, C, D, and E. I grab loaf A and I squeeze it a little bit And I open it up and I put my hand in there, I squeeze it, I smell it. And it smells kind of fresh. And I'd go in there and reach the middle of the bread, pull it out, and I'd stick it back in there, close it up, and I grab loaf B. Which one are you going to grab? D? C? Anything but A. And see, every one of you, none of you would take loaf A. And here's the hypocrisy. Here you are exercising more discretion over a stupid loaf of bread, but not over a body count. Sexual partners. Gabe, does that make sense? Wait, am I the only one guilty? No. Show of hands, who's guilty of stupidity? I know I'm guilty, man. So this is what I'm telling you. Where kissing is concerned, I've had so many young people come to me and say, "Yo, you're too puritanical. You're old. You know, you're old school. You're square." And just all kind of stupid stuff. And I say, well, so you want to kiss this girl? Why do you want to kiss a girl? I say, well, it's just a kiss. This is what they say, young people. It's just a kiss. Is it just a kiss? No. I'll tell you, and this is what I tell them. I say, okay, let me help you out, stud. If it's just a kiss, let me ask you something. Would you kiss your grandmother the same way you want to kiss this girl? Would you put your tongue down your grandmother's throat? And you should see him cringe, like, oh, God, no. Okay, stop playing me for a fool. It's not the same thing, and you know it. Now, I got to say this. This is why, what is a tongue kiss? It's actually, you can study it out. They call it French kiss, but French wasn't, I think, till Treaty of Versailles, 1492, something like that. I can't remember. The Treaty of Versailles. When France became a nation, and they call it a French kiss. It's not a French kiss because a tongue kiss is in the Bible. And so that far predates France. And so if anything, you call it a Hebrew kiss. Well, let's just call it a tongue kiss. And so if you call it a tongue kiss, be honest. Is there anything more erotic? I'd say sex is number one, and right next to that is a tongue kiss. I could be wrong, but that's just my 2 cents. Can you guys think of anything more erotic than a tongue kiss? Anything more erotic? Anything more erotic than sex? Because some people say, yeah, combat, yeah, McMap, formation. It's a field day, yeah. No, it's erotic. Now, so what is 2 Corinthians, I think I put it up, the 1 Corinthians 7:1. It says, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. What does that mean? Quickly, because I'm almost done.
Withhold yourself.
What is it? It literally means, you study it out in the Greek, it's good for a man not to touch a woman. It literally means, touch means, don't touch her in a way as to start a fire. What does a tongue kiss do? It definitely starts a fire. And I'm not even going to ask how many of us have started a fire and before we knew a full blaze, we couldn't put it out and we went too far. We counsel too many people who are dating and they set up all these boundaries, but they overpassed every stop sign, every warning, and they're calling us crying and saying, we went too far. Yeah. Holding hands is a sin. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Listen, go ahead. Listen, kissing is not a sin in of itself. It's not. But the warning is, you know where tongue kissing takes you. I can't tell you how many people, it started out with just a kiss. And before we knew it, we were butt naked. And we went all the way. Every single time. And so, hold hands. Yeah, but if it's too much for you, don't hold hands. But you already know if you're kissing it, it's like playing with fire. Maybe you can handle it, but most people can't. And I don't think you're going to hell because you have your premarital kissing. I don't believe that. I just promise you that you're playing with fire. And you're flirting with temptation. Right or wrong? Some of you think, yeah, he's just making that up. Whatever. Okay, before I'm going to wrap this up. I want to show you something. Give me a time check.
It is 38.
Okay, good. We're right on time. We're almost done. We're on third base right now. Look, I put these bricks up here for a reason. Now, I want you to understand something. I'm going to get into this next week. I'll break this down. I'm going to take my time and break this down next week. This this could be referred to as your character. Okay. How is a character formed? Quickly, we got a race.
Experience.
Huh?
Experience.
Experience. How's your character formed? How you're raised. Give me more. Come on. Experience. Somebody said something. Maybe who you know what creates your character? Every single decision you make forms your character. It's like this. It's like this. These are two characters. I'll break this down in a second. There's bricks up here. There's foam. There's sponge, and there's wood. Varying degrees of strength. Yes. These bricks. These are godly decisions. They're truthful, honorable decisions. And how many decisions did you make just today since the time you woke up? 1,000? 1,000? And so good decisions, God-honoring decisions create bricks in your character. They're immovable. Compromise decision make sponge, foam, wood. They're weak. And so think about this. When you make good decisions, you're putting good bricks into your character. You make bad decisions, you're putting weak bricks into your character. What happens? This wall right here is full of strong bricks and weak bricks. Strong decisions and weak decisions. The storm or a temptation will come and test your character. Where will your character or this wall fail? The weak decisions you made. This is why I told you early on that divorce is predictable. If you're honest with me and you show me your track record of decisions that you made in the last 6 months while you were dating, this is what it looks like right here. Weak decisions, bad decisions, couple godly decisions. That's couple B. This is couple A. They only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bad decisions in their character. That's couple B. All that compromise. I'm telling you right now, that's divorce. That's adultery. That's a mess right there waiting to happen. This is how divorces happen and adultery and extramarital affairs happen. I'll really break this down, but it makes sense. Let's say this is a single guy. And that's single guy A, single guy B. Which one would you rather, just where sexual sins are concerned, which one's going to be more successful in his marriage? Guy A. Which one would you allow to marry your daughter? Which one are you? I know. I promise you, this is me. But I also promise you this, as I wrap this up. God showed me years ago, because I'm prefacing this for next week's class. God told me after my wife and I had been married, I'm just going to say about 15 years. 15 years into our marriage, and we've always had a happy marriage. We've always had a great marriage, I promise you. I wouldn't lie to you. You want a marriage like mine. I pray you have one like mine and better. I don't know very many people personally that are in love like my wife and I. They just don't have it. They just don't. We're happy and everyone knows it. Dude, but what great marriage and all, 15 years, God says, random, apologize to Sandy. What? Apologize to Sandy. For what? He said, for premarital sex. What? Lord, that was 15 years ago. Listen to my responses. That was 15 years ago. Apologize to Sandy. But Lord, you forgave me for that. Apologize to Sandy. But Lord, we're happy. Apologize to Sandy. Lord, it was consensual. Apologize to Sandy. Lord, I married her, so we made it right. Apologize to Sandy. What am I doing? This is a character flaw. What am I revealing about my character? This actually happened, huh? I have a pattern of rationalization in my character and compromise. And so I'm telling you, this thing, I wrestled with it, and I knew I needed to apologize to Sandy. And without planning this out, I went to Sandy. We were alone in the house. She happened to be sitting on the end of the love seat. And I was walking by, and it just occurred, this is it. And I said, Sandy, I owe you an apology. And she said, for what? And I said, for premarital sex. I said, I am so sorry. I was not a Christian. I didn't understand your value, my value. I didn't know how to honor God. I didn't understand purity. I didn't know anything. I'm sorry. And man, I'm telling you, I was on my knees. I didn't plan any, rehearse none of this. I was on my knees, I was crying, and I was telling Sandy I was sorry. And she was crying too. And she said, you know what, Nick? I did not think I needed to hear an apology from you, but I did. And she said, I forgive you. Boom, on the spot, right down the spot. Something happened to my marriage. It went to another level of increased intimacy. What happened? And this is where I get this illustration from. What happened was this little nasty, as soon as I said, I'm wrong, forgive me, Sandy said, I forgive you. That one came out, and that one went in. What happened to my foundation, my character? Fortified, edified, repaired. Whole. This is how we get it right. You're going to hear a lot more. Because the soul thing that goes on up here, all this pollution up here, this is the biggest class I ever teach. At least that's what I feel. Making sense, guys? Okay, let's go ahead and stand up. We're going to do throwbacks in a minute, so get your thoughts together, but I have another prayer up here. And let me turn this down so it's not too loud. I need you to grab someone and pray with them quickly.